So I want to ask a question. Since a lot of you guys want to praise Triple G like he should be the standard. If I'm lying about Triple G only beating 2.5 world champions, because again, the vacant title, I don't really consider him taking a title off of a champion, because the belt that he beat Sergey Derenchenko for was vacant. Triple G really only beaten 2 world champions throughout his career, and yet he is praised like he's done something significant in the sport of boxing. His claim to fame is him clout chasing off Canelo Alvarez. Did he get the fight? Yes. Did he win the fight? No. And so he's 0-3 against Canelo Alvarez. Well, 0-2-1, because he did fight Canelo Alvarez to a draw in their first fight. However, Triple G's claim to fame is him clout chasing off Canelo Alvarez. But boxing fans are trying to talk about Triple G, or talking about Triple G like he's the standard. And I'm trying to figure out, what did he do that was so significant to the point where you guys are trying to make him the standard? You get mad when someone tells the truth about him. You say the truth is criticism. So I'm trying to figure out, what did he actually do in the sport of boxing? John Boxing, he was a unified champion, 2-time unified. He had all these belts. He collected so many belts to the point where he has belts to spare. Fine. A Triple G diehard fanboy is celebrating Triple G for having the WBC belt. And my thing is, who did he beat for the WBC belt? Why can't we just call it for what it is? Who did Triple G beat to become the WBC champion? Because that question matters. The answer to that question is no one. He was given the belt because Canelo Alvarez vacated the belt. So that makes Triple G, or that made Triple G an email champion. He didn't fight nor beat anyone for that WBC belt. So why are you giving him credit for having a belt that he didn't earn? Because fighters have to earn a title by beating someone with a title. Triple G didn't do that for all the belts that he's had. Triple G had only earned 3 titles. One against David Lemieux, one against Ryota Murata, and one that was dangling up for grabs against Sergey Derenchenko. Those are the only belts that Triple G actually earned, because he beat someone for those belts. But you guys get mad at me for telling the truth. The WBC belt that Triple G had back in 2016, that was because Canelo Alvarez vacated that belt. But when it came to Haney holding that same WBC belt that Lomachenko vacated, you guys slapped him with this email champion crap. And it wasn't Devin Haney's fault that he wanted to fight Vasily Lomachenko. It wasn't Devin Haney's fault that he placed himself in position to become Vasily Lomachenko's mandatory. You guys called him an email champion. But with Golovkin, you guys just slapped him with that email crap. You guys called him a champion. You guys called him the middleweight champion, even though he got that belt through via email. Yes. So Triple G didn't really fight anyone for majority of those belts that he's had. The WBC belt that Canelo vacated, Triple G didn't have to beat anyone for it. Again, Triple G has only beaten 2.5 champions, Ryota Murata and David Lemieux. Those 2 fighters actually had titles that Triple G took. Sergey Derenchenko was the other fighter that was fighting for a belt that was dangling, the IBF belt. Triple G fought Sergey Derenchenko for the IBF belt that was up for grabs. But Sergey Derenchenko was a championship quality fighter. So that's why I kind of acknowledge Sergey Derenchenko as being a champion, even though he didn't have a belt. He was good enough to be called a champion without a belt. Okay, so that's why I say Triple G really only beaten 2.5 champions. Okay, but the point is that a lot of you guys glaze Triple G for doing absolutely nothing in the sport of boxing, because he hasn't done anything in the sport of boxing. His claim to fame is him clout chasing off of Canelo Alvarez, which he's 0-2-1 against. He hasn't beaten Canelo Alvarez. And you can arguably say that his best win was against Danny Jacobs when he defended the IBF belt. a fight that was really controversial. A lot of people believe that he didn't beat Danny Jacobs. This is why he didn't run it back with Danny Jacobs. And you guys didn't want him to run it back with Danny Jacobs. You didn't. You wanted this man to avoid Daniel Jacobs because you felt that Daniel Jacobs beat him. So Triple G, Triple G is probably the only fighter that I've ever seen get a ton of credit for doing absolutely nothing. He didn't even do the bare minimum. He didn't even do the bare minimum because he beat weak competition. He literally beat weak competition. And the champions that he beaten, no one gave a two F's about because they wasn't really no one that's worth mentioning. Sure, Dave Lemieux was an exciting fighter, but he wasn't no real champion. Ryota Murata, who is that guy? You see what I'm saying? But again, a lot of people get mad at me for telling the truth about Triple G. They take my truth as some type of criticism because they love Triple G for whatever reason. I think it's very strange that someone would come online and try to defend someone that they've never met before, right? It's a sport. No fighter is above criticism, okay? Just because you want to sit there and only have criticism towards fighters that don't look like you, but then get mad when someone criticizes your favorite fighter, you kind of expose yourself as a hypocrite when you're getting your feelings about that, okay? Triple G is literally the most overrated fighter of all times. That's the fact. Oh, he's in the Hall of Fame. I mean, that really doesn't mean anything because you had an actor that's been inducted to the Hall of Fame. Sylvester Stallone got inducted to the Hall of Fame. So that doesn't really mean much nowadays. I mean, look at the pound for pound list. It's a load of crap because the pound for pound nowadays is based on who's liked the most, not who's done the most. Okay, back in the early 2000s, when you look at that list and compare it to today's list, it's no comparison, right? The fighters back in the early 2000s done a lot, right? Proved themselves consistently against world-class fighters. The shit that you're seeing today is a joke, all right? So what? Gennady Golovkin has been inducted to the Hall of Fame. That means absolutely nothing. Nothing at all, because he will not be remembered by anyone except his weird fans. 10 years from now, nobody's going to be talking about Triple G. You know who's still going to be a conversation? Marvin Hagler, Roy Jones, Bernard Hopkins, Sugar Ray Leonard. They're still going to be a conversation. Oscar De La Hoya. You know why? It's because they actually done something in the sport of boxing. All right. Oscar wasn't a middleweight for a very long time, but he's a part of that conversation because he campaigned at the middleweight division. He fought literally the best middleweight at that time, and he lost. But at least he fought him. At least he brought something to that fight with him and Bernard Hopkins. Bernard Hopkins actually gained something from beating Oscar De La Hoya. Canelo didn't gain nothing from beating Triple G. That's because Canelo brought everything to that fight. He brought his name, he brought money, he brought the fame, and he brought legacy. Triple G brought nothing.